ladies and gentlemen. It is February 7th, 2022, and this is FAWMtalk. I'm, of course, Juha, and with me, as always, my trusty co-host, Mr. Head First Only, Chris. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing very well. Yes, sorry for the technical hitches there, folks, but we are with you. Hello, all.
Finally with you. We have some technical difficulties, so this is take number 2, but here we go. And with us from Australia, Mr. Coolparadiso, Janel. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you very much. Yes. So while you're enjoying your evening there, I'm early morning on Tuesday. I am your future.
Hopefully the future is looking bright.
It's at least it's still here. That's something.
Oh, should be good. All right. So as usual, we have some music here by FAWMers lined up, and let's go straight to our first track. This one is by Airbag Tester. It's called Pleja Tranquila de los Sueños. Pleja Tranquila de los Sueños by Airbag Tester.
That is such a laid-back vibe. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't help tapping along to that one, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. Doing the chair head nod right.
Yeah, I was for sure.
Yeah, he was saying that he wanted to hear how the song name is pronounced, so send us that one.
I think you did a grand job there. Certainly better than I would have done.
Yeah, most definitely.
I love that language. I haven't tried to speak too much Spanish, but this song by Álvaro Soler called La Cintura, that was a big hit a couple of summers ago, and I really like that one. I've been singing that a bunch, and so I hope something has stuck through osmosis there. But yeah, what a wonderful track! It's got that summer feel. So
yeah, it really has.
Yeah.
So how's FAWM been starting with you, Jano?
Oh, a bit mad. I've actually done my 14, so I can now go and have a rest. No, look, it's a sort of a slightly, there's probably about 7 really pretty well done ones, and then I've done about 4 skirmishes and a couple of collabs as well, which is always great. I'm actually running the random collaboration thread as well, so that's hopefully it's going to bring up some good songs. So keep an eye out for that. I've just the second collaboration I'll be doing it about tomorrow night. So anybody's interested, have a look at the collaboration thread and join it, and you can get in and do something. It's always exciting to get someone you don't know particularly and no idea what you're going to get. That's always the fun of the fair.
Yeah.
I met Beto Alessimo, who you all know, and I hadn't really met him till about 3 years ago, and we did a random collab together, and we've stayed mates ever since. So that's one of the great things about FAWM and collaborations.
Yeah, that's really fun. I think I did. I'm not a huge collaborator person myself. I did last year. I think I did at least 14 collabs, maybe 15, 16.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't done a lot. Maybe like 5 in total. The 10 years I've done FAWM and 5090. But yeah, I think I did the random collab last year as well. It was a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough to everybody out there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, particularly people who particularly if you're a lyricist or just a musician, it's great to be able to have someone do the other half for you. That's always one of the great things. I always love to put my lyrics out there and see if I can find a lovely singer as opposed to my growl.
Growling has its place. I do a fair bit of growling in my day, I must admit.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to talk about that, Chris.
Yeah, it can be great fun doing, and especially like taking yourself out of your comfort zone. Because the stuff that I did last year, and it was a fun experiment for me. Because I usually don't do a lot of collabs. I like doing my own stuff, and I have like my own ideas of what I want to get accomplished every year. But especially last year, I just wanted to get more. Engage more with the community and the people here, and just posted on the forum that I'll collaborate with anyone and everyone. And on Slack I just kept pestering people, and like I did a lot of collabs with Metalfoot and TC, a bunch of great stuff. Like C Black did a great vocal track, and I just kept playing. I played like pianos and some weird drums and flutes and stuff on top of that. It was great. It really forces you to do things that you don't normally do. I send a bunch of backing tracks to people who normally do like one take stuff, and I sent to like I sent like a pop backing track to one of the people there who does a lot of this sort of folky one take stuff, and it was. I got great feedback from there. Like it was completely different to anything that she does normally, and so it was a fun experiment to both of us. Definitely,
it's great for everyone. But all 3 of us, we actually can do everything from beginning to end. But there are a lot of formers who can't do everything from beginning to end. So when they collaborate, they get an opportunity to do the whole thing, which is always great. And you don't have to say that you've collaborated with Metalfoot. You actually only ever say it if you haven't, because it's easier, because everyone's collaborated with Metalfoot. Alex has just about collaborated with everybody, I think.
Yeah, weirdly, like I've been doing this since 2011, and this was the first time I've collaborated with him. So I've been like dodging collabs left and right.
You would have been feeling left out. No, he's a very good bloke, Alex. Really good guy.
Oh, definitely, yes, I agree. Well, should we go to another track?
I think we should.
Got one here lined up by Darcy Strutt. This one is called Earworm.
I think I see an earworm. Think I see an earworm on the ground. Shall I pick it up? Oh no, sir, no, sir. I just like to watch it wiggle around. Shall I pick it up? Oh no, sir, no, sir. I just like to watch it wiggle around. watch it wiggle around. Shall I pick it up? Oh, no, sir, no, sir. I just like to watch it wiggle around.
Earworm by Darcy Strutt. Short and sweet.
That is just so sweet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I left a comment on Darcy's song page on FAWM, because FAWM is all about listening to other people's stuff and leaving comments.
Yeah.
And
You can.
paradoxically, in writing a song about earworms, she actually earwormed me, which
She
is
did.
very, very
she's
good. I love that song.
When you've got
Darcy's
a-
fab.
When you've got a voice like that, you can do nice, simple stuff, can't you? And Darcy always plays that ukulele. And I've got a soft spot for the uke because I live in an area where there aren't many people who teach music, and there's lots of people here I teach ukulele to. So I've got a bit of a soft spot for the uke. So it's always
splendid.
nice to hear. And she always does lovely uke songs.
Yeah. That's really nice. But yeah, like Chris said, like good luck getting that song out of your head. It's there to stay.
And let's just take a moment, because I have so many windows open on my screens in front of me. Hello everybody in the chat on YouTube. It's nice to see some familiar names. So Niam's just joined us, and DJ Kenneth A's there, French Doggy's there, Wobby Wobbit's there, and some guy called Januarius, but I think he's busy doing other stuff at the moment.
Yeah.
What a bloke.
Hello all.
Hello. Hope everybody's having a great FAWM. Speaking of FAWM, songwriting, Jono, how do you typically approach writing a song? Like, you've done 14 this year. What's your typical approach to starting a songwriting process?
Well, funny enough, I use FAWM to do things differently, and so I'm actually probably breaking away from my more standard process. I'm naturally a lyricist. If I could just be a lyricist, probably that's what I'd do all the time. That's my natural thing to do and something I've done all my life. But once you write a song, people say, "What does it sound like?" So I started playing more and more. I could play instruments, so I started playing more and more, and then people would say, "Well, can you sing it?" So then I started singing, and I got into it that way. So my process was always very much from lyrics to music to production. But I found when I was teaching other people music that I realized that when you change your process, you often change your music quite dramatically. So I made a decision that mostly this year in FAWM, I would write the music first. So I actually sit down often with a title or an idea. It's usually a title or a concept, and I'm trying to write music first. And then when I've written the music first, I've got an idea, a sort of slight sketch in my mind, but I keep a fairly open mind quite often. I often try to write a happy song, but I lose it halfway through and it doesn't become a happy song. But my process, I am quite structured in my process. But at the moment I sit down, I try some music. When I've got something that sounds like music, I then write my words to go with it. And then obviously, because it's music, you have to trim your words around to make it sound reasonable within the flow of the music. But I do find that doing music, I'm more creative and not as structured. When I write lyrics first, which I naturally do, I write so structured that the music becomes very structured as well. So I found that a really interesting difference by writing music first this time.
No, that's
interesting.
Yeah.
I know Jono is a fellow progger, and you're
not supposed to. You said you wouldn't tell anyone.
the story of being asked, well, you've got lyrics, what do they sound? It's amazing where that can lead, because there was a young lad back in I think it was the late 70s, early 80s, started writing this mock fanzine for an imaginary band that he and his mates invented. And they actually published these fanzines, and people started subscribing to it, despite the fact that the band didn't exist. And eventually somebody said, well, look, you've written all these lyrics and published all the fan newsletters. What would Porcupine Tree actually sound like? So they started writing music, and look where that led them.
Yeah.
Really strange. But, you know, so it just goes to show you can be
So
a
you're saying
lyricist and
there's
conquer
still
the
hope for me
world.
then?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. There's hope for all of us. That's why I'm still doing it.
Well, it's interesting because that's typically how I actually do my music, is that I write something, some sort of music thing first, and then start to write lyrics on top of that. And it's always just naturally been my process, whereas when I try to write lyrics first, I find it really, really difficult to write music on top of them. And sometimes I even just try to think of some sort of structure first, and then write the write the lyrics to the structure, even if I don't really have a music first. But it's almost like I need something so I can start to formulate my thoughts that could fit into the song. But so if you start to write just the lyrics first, where does it typically lead you? What sort of avenues do you normally take?
Look, as I said before, I'm very organised. You know, I sit down. I take the sort of Nick Cave view that I get up in the morning and I put my suit on and I go into my office and I work. You know, and that's what he always says. And I do that with songwriting. I write every day something. I probably write something every day, and I'm very organised, and I sit down and if I was doing it my normal way rather than the music way, I would almost always find it's usually a title. It's a title that drives me. And the title might mean something, so it might be an idea. I might see something. I wrote a song this year, just a bit of a fun song, and it was called, I can't even remember what it was called, but it was basically I was out with my wife in a motorhome, and I was sitting down. I'd just written another song for a guy called Jeff Gordon, who lives in Kansas, and I'd just written a song for him. And I was sitting down, and two old ladies came and sat at a seat, and they started talking. And I thought, that's really interesting. They weren't listening to each other. Two old ladies talking to each other, and they were just yarning away about all things about this town. So I just made a quick note. I didn't pick it up until about 4 or 5 days ago. But when I came to it, I sat down with it and I looked at it. And basically, again, that was my driver. So my driver was, I had a note that said, two old ladies sitting at the picnic table talking about old times. And so once I've got a concept in mind, I throw together, I'm a natural rhymer. And I actually have to break away from rhyming a bit sometimes, because rhyming can become a bit trite at times. So, you know, I try and mix up the rhymes. I'm quite a studier of rhyming. I've written articles about all the different kinds of styles and types of rhyming, and there are hundreds. If you actually multiply the types by the styles, there are hundreds. So I tend to then put them into some sort of rhyming structure. But if people ask me to make a rhyme, I can make them off the top of my head. I've done it since I was a young boy, standing next to the piano with my brother, and he would play music and I would just make up the words. I've always been able to do that. And so naturally I sit down and I write words, and once I've got the words in a reasonable state, they will then have led me to some kind of musical concept, style, and then I usually play with a guitar or keyboards and get some kind of word, and then it becomes much more of a melding. You know, once I've got most of the words and most of the music, then I play and play until the two become one thing. And that's pretty much it. And then obviously you go into your production.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
But
Because I was talking with my game developer friend about I don't really remember what I was talking about, but he said that he's so jealous to kids these days because they all seem to have this natural ability to rhyme things, because they listen to so much rap music and hip hop music.
Yeah, for sure.
So they just all seem to have this ability to rhyme things, and I'm kind of jealous of that too, because I don't really naturally have that sort of ability. I have to think about rhyming very, very hard before I can do something like that. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just the type of music I listen to. Like we've been talking a lot about Iron Maiden, and they do rhyming sometimes, but they also have a lot of songs where they just don't bother with it, and the words still seem to flow really well. But I seem to naturally write more non-rhyming lyrics when I do those. But yeah,
for those of us who do struggle with rhyming, there are some cheats. Well, not cheats, resources you can use. Rhyme Zone on the interwebs. I use that pretty much every day during FAWM. It is so useful. For those of you who rely more on dead tree resources, that, I don't know if you can see that, Walker's Rhyming Dictionary of the English Language. It's like a dictionary backwards. There we go. Emmanuel has posted the link in the chat. Rhymezone.com. Really great. Walker's
I have a
really
good one. I have a good one.
Yep.
Go on then. What you got, John?
I have a good. I've got one. I've got it on my iPad, so I don't know if it's an Android app as well. But it's called Doppelrhyme. Doppelrhyme. And the good thing about Doppelrhyme is it rhymes more than one word, so you can make a 2 or 3 word rhyme. So you can make a statement. You could say clearing trees, and it finds a rhyme for those 2 words rather than for 1 word.
wow.
Now that's useful.
Yeah, so that's a good one. It's as I said, I can naturally rhyme, but I do use them still, because sometimes you find words that aren't in your normal vocabulary. But Doppelrhyme is a good one because you've got various selections, so you can select 2 words or 1 word or near right. It's a very good little app, free app, very, very useful.
So did you say that's Android or?
I have it on my iPad, but
Right, okay.
I don't know if it's Android, but
I will investigate.
but it's a fun one, particularly if you go for the double word.
Yeah, I want to go back to something that you said earlier, or just now, which was that you write every day. Do you still get blocked, or does that discipline mean that you just plow through it and carry on?
Well, yes, I do get blocked, but the difference between myself and a lot of people is my block's usually 10 minutes.
Right.
I'm not being funny.
No.
I do get blocked. I do get blocks. I can sit there and look at the paper and think, just like everyone else, oh my goodness. But I think my training, my practice, and probably my stubbornness, I managed to be able to go through the block because I've done it so many times. Now, I said before, I teach songwriting, and one of the things I teach people who can't write songs to be able to write a song within an hour. I've never failed to do that. And by doing that, what I do is I do a very structured songwriting, very simple, 4-chord progression. I won't go into all the detail, but 4-chord progression, verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, and then an A-B, probably an A-B rhyming, something like that, or XA rhyming, and so it's very simple that you can teach anybody in 10 minutes. And to be honest with you, I take the art out of writing songs, which of course you don't really want to do long term, but in the short term I take the art off and make it a science, so you can teach people how to do it. So if I get a block, I've got some basic blocks to go back to that says, okay, go back to your basic blocks. If you block, just try and write a song like that. Now, once you can write songs like that, then you can put the art back into it and play with it and change it. But I know that when I'm completely blocked, I can go and look in my little book and find 50 titles that I liked, and I can put one down, and I can at least write a song using my basic structure.
Okay, so
that's how I get through it.
You touched it a little bit there, but so to me, when I get blocked, it's usually 2 things. It's either because I'm trying to do something too perfect, and I'm trying to just aiming too high, and I find it difficult to start anything. But the other reason is when I just don't have any sort of idea as to what to write. And so you have like a notebook of topics or titles or themes.
I would have 500 topics sitting in there, and I would have inside my iPad in my little notes, which are all organized in different categories, I would have 500 1 and 2 lines. I'm to be honest with you, I go to I used to, of course, it's been a bit difficult the last couple of years, but I used to go to a lot of festivals and stuff, and people just throw me words and I'd write a song in 15 minutes for them and play it to them. And that was always a bit of fun. And the reason I can do that, everyone says, I don't know how you do that on the spur of the moment, but Chris will tell you who really quoted this, but basically my best off the cuff songs have been well researched previously, and what I mean by that is I sit down some evenings and I spend the whole evening looking at all cultures around the world and what quotes they've used. If you go on and put quotes for cultures, you'll find 20 famous sayings in the Jewish religion, or 15 Turkish statements. One of my best songs I wrote, which was I think on my first album, and I still play it regularly with my wife, is called The Caravan Moves On. And I got that is a Turkish proverb. The caravan moves on means basically life goes on, and that's how and the next day I might study book titles, or I'll go to something like what's the public domain poetry and read lots of their poetry. So when you hear me roll off songs in 10 minutes, I've done an awful lot of research previously to make it look easy at the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
so titles are good. I went for a while there, and my wife used to drive me mad because I'd be going out with her somewhere, and I'd have my phone and I'd be taking pictures of something in a shop window, a sign, because that sign's a great title for it, and then I'd read a magazine. When I do my songwriting, one of the things I do, the way we choose a song, we randomly find in the room a magazine. And I guarantee if you find a magazine and open it, you'll find half a dozen good titles.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do. They're professional at writing headlines. Read the headline and you'll get a story. So that's a great... Magazines and newspapers, fantastic for song titles.
That's a really good point. It's like, that's just what goes into being a professional songwriter, or the professionalism of being in that field. And it's the same sort of thing in being in like visual arts, is that you spend so many hours just learning how to use every different tool in a program and how to use composition techniques and colors together. And people don't see that. And when you go to work on some project, you can throw together something that will pass, something that will work for the project in a really small amount of time. But the amount of time that you spend preparing yourself for that moment, that people will never see that. But yeah, that's a very great point about, like, if you write songs, you also have to sort of prepare and write the ideas down somewhere.
It's a funny thing with lyrics. I think it's because we talk all the time. So we think we've got this God-given gift to be able to do everything in words. But like, I've got friends who will sit down and play their guitar and practice for 5 hours a day, and then they tell me they're struggling with lyrics. And I say, well, how much practice did you do? And they don't do any. They don't. People don't often, people who play music often don't realize that you have to put in, if you want to be a really good, I mean, there's always naturals everywhere, but if you really want to be a good lyricist, you've got to put in the time, just like people put the time into playing an instrument. And I think a lot of people need to think a little bit more about that, and at least practice doing some lyrics, doing some ideas. It's always only the few that have that gift to be able to just do it without having to think.
Yeah. The thing that took me years to discover was that you just have to have, to a certain extent, a sort of mindset where if you encounter anything, whether it's a book or a magazine article or a sign in a shop window or something on the news, that you want a little part of your mind that is constantly watching what's going on, going, that's a song.
That's exactly it, Chris.
You need to write that.
Yeah, that's
thank goodness for phones and iPads, because at least you can capture the idea at that moment. I'm getting to the age, and I'm older than Mr. Harris here. I'm at the age where I have to make notes, because You know, I might forget to get up in the morning or something. You know, I'm getting a bit old, so it's
Always-
wonderful to be able to capture things.
Always have a
Yeah.
notebook in reach,
Yeah.
preferably several. Always have one by your bed, because the number of
Well-
times I've woken up in the middle of the night with a song in my head, going, "Where did that come from?" and scribbled it down.
I always have an iPad in hand. So yeah. it's amazing.
The thing
Excellent.
is, I love notebooks, and I keep buying like new notebooks. I have plenty of them on hand here, but I don't normally use them that much because of the phone, because you just have this always wherever you go. And
Yeah.
the thing is that it's sometimes a little bit hard to write things down with the phone. So it's a little bit counterproductive, but also if I was dragging notebook with me wherever I go, I would have to have a pen on hand, and it's like it starts to get a little bit cluttery, I think. Just
Then you've got to change things. Then you've got to cross things out. You know, you're on there. I'm on my iPad. I can just delete and start again. You know, so
Well, I'm going to
Some
give a
people-
shout out to Dragon Dreams, who's in the stream, because he, like me, is a fountain pen nerd, and I find writing lyrics with a fountain pen so satisfying. And because I mean, the writer Neil Gaiman actually writes all his novels longhand with a fountain pen, which I find lovely. Doesn't use word processors at all.
but do you do
You don't
all
need
those
fancy technology. You just need a piece of paper and some ink.
Do you do all those decorative font like type faces?
Oh, for sure. I have calligraphy sets and italic nibs, and also I love handwriting.
Oh, that is fantastic.
That is good for job creation because he creates another job, doesn't he? So there
Yeah,
you
absolutely. Someone's got to transcribe that, and then
Yeah,
he's got to read
fantastic.
it through and go,
Yeah.
no, I didn't write that. But at least he's not a doctor. He has got legible handwriting.
go. Well, then you have to take it to the chemist, wouldn't he? So to do it. Oh dear.
How about we go
That drifted
to
away.
how about we go to another song? We get a cool track here, lined up by Mr. Dragon Dreams, who's on chat. This one is called Fipple Piercing. Fipple Piercing by Dragon Dreams. I love that. That is just, I love that stuff.
There
Yeah,
needs
it's
to be
great.
more recorders in rock. So Paul has a recorder habit that is quite intimidating. It has to be said.
Really?
I know it was a
do love
record.
his stuff.
I know it was a recorder, but I felt very Jethro Tully in the middle there. That reminded me of some of my old Jethro. Of course, he obviously was a flautist was old Anderson, but I did feel a bit Jethro Tull in that, so I was right at home.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah,
And I did get the pleasure of meeting Dragon Dreams the other day, because a guy called Ken Matson, some of you may have come across.
Yeah, I
him
know
before.
Ken. Yeah,
He ran
he's doing good stuff this year.
He is, and he did a QMO Space meeting just before FAWM started. You know, if you've ever heard of QMO Space, and quite a lot of us joined it, and Dragon Dreams was there, so I actually got to see his face for the first time. So that was always nice, isn't it?
Excellent.
really good. To your point, Chris, what you were saying about calligraphy in the chat, I think my friend was talking about Japanese manga
painting.
artists and how they seem to have the touch for just drawing these beautiful lines, because they naturally write all those their writing style with the kanji and hiraganas and these sort of things. They naturally have that sort of weight to them, so the artists at a very young age already learn this sort of pen control, and so they have a bit of a kickstart when they are going into a drawing career. And I think a lot of the Western artists are sort of struggling with that sort of line art thing, but yeah, that is definitely like calligraphy. It's very interesting, but I've long time ago realized that I can't do any I can't do everything, so I have to sort of pick my battles, select like few things, and I'm gonna focus on these and try to be good at these things.
We've lost that skill greatly. I'm sure there are many that's. I mean, I have some old letters that my father wrote. My father died quite a long time ago, and he was quite an aged father, so he came from quite a different time. But his writing was absolutely beautiful, And some of the old, I collect some of the old stuff from my family, and they could all write. Not only did they write beautifully, their words were different. It's very interesting reading back at some of that old stuff. But yeah, my father's handwriting was magnificent. He'd probably belted me around the ear a few more times if he'd have seen my handwriting, because mine's shocking. So
yeah, but it's a good point, and I wonder like what else are we gonna lose in the future? Like, because of technology, there are so many things that are probably gonna gradually start to fade out. And especially when it comes to music, you don't have to. I feel like I don't have to see half as much effort putting out a song as I would have had 15 years ago, because technology just helps you so much. And sometimes I wonder like what people such as Mozart or Beethoven would have done if they lived in our day, like with the technology that we have, how they would have utilized it.
For sure. I mean, the thing that I love many things about Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. But one of the things that I love most about it is the idea of Beethoven encountering home keyboards and what he would then do with it.
Yeah,
I think genius will find a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But also at the same time, we were talking about this on Slack yesterday, probably. It's like we're sort of standing on shoulders of giants in that sense, that even though I feel a little bit like I'm cheating because I have so many tools that help me to write songs and help me to achieve great sound without having to use that much effort, when there comes along a person who is willing to put a lot more effort into the process anyway, then all those things that are helping him are just gonna make sure that he's skyrocketing that much higher.
And there is still that gap between doing great stuff with lots of tools and gadgets, which is certainly where I am, and the ones who can just sit down and play or sing or write. Joanne Gabriel and her co-former Sirius the Cat. Yes, we have cats on February Album Writing Month. We have had cats on February Album Writing Month for many years. Joanne does the most astonishing vocal layering with her voice. And every year somebody will say in the comments to one of her songs, "What plugin are you using?" And Joanne just said, "No, that's me." And it's that you suddenly encounter that, and it's like, oh yeah, I need to practice more.
That is actually
really
like
do.
what me and my buddy were talking about. He's a little bit peeved because people, if you've seen the most recent Blade Runner movie, the 2049,
2049.
yeah, there are these like long, very very long shots where the vehicle is flying above the city, and you see these panning shots of the city. And his friends are telling him like, why did they do all those shots? Because it's just 3D and it's just 3D city. My buddy's going like, no, there are miniatures. Those are miniatures that they made, handcrafted. But nobody can tell the difference anymore. So it's like, whether you're a great singer or using some plugin, it's like almost doesn't make a difference this day and age.
Yeah. I must admit, I've always been a bit of an output. I mean, for most of my young life, listened to music, and until a few years ago, I never even thought of asking whether somebody was using a plugin, or what I heard was, I heard what I heard, and I liked what I liked. If that makes sense. And it didn't matter to me how they got there, as long as I liked what I heard. And I guess I still have that more firmly in my mind, but it is nice if you want to go and see else. I mean, I know you can still do some cheats then, but go and see people live, and that's a different game then,
Oh, absolutely.
Live's live. I may have touched on this with Chris, and I talked the other night, and you have these snobs who say, oh, you shouldn't change anything, you shouldn't do anything, and I say to them, well, you all do it. You all go in the studio, and you all, even if you only add a bit of compression or a bit of reverb, it's only the degree to which you play with your tools. The only way of seeing music that's pure is to go and see live music with people just not using any tools at all. And so as I say, I tend to go for the output. But it is wonderful when you, like Chris said about that lady, it is lovely when you see people just do that stuff naturally. I was fortunate. I travel a lot part of the year with my wife, and so we sat around campfires and play music a lot, and not long ago I sat down by a campfire, and a bloke came out and sat next to me, and he pulled out a slide guitar. He played out a guitar, and he had a slide, and he played fantastic slide guitar and sang. I played along with him just to keep him company, but it was fantastic. That's a different skill again. That was live music, and that was fun. But once you start listening on your stream or your radio or whatever way you listen to music, you either like it or you don't, and you don't have to worry too much about how the person got there. That's me anyway.
Yeah, totally agree. Actually, one thing I want to pick up on there, which is that idea of, as a performer, as a musician, playing with other people. So important. If you can ever do it, do it. Yeah. Take the opportunity to play with other musicians as often as you can, because it is just a different experience from sitting in a room like this and just playing to yourself on the keyboard or the guitar or the bass or whatever else you've got at hand. Actually listening to what another musician is doing and responding with what you're playing to what they're doing, and hearing them respond in their playing to what you're doing, it's like magic. It's telepathy. And when you're watching a band where you can see and hear that they're all paying attention to what each other is doing, there's nothing better than watching that happening.
Yeah, I had a wonderful experience about 2 years ago. I was at a small, mostly folky festival in a minuscule town called Francis in Australia, who no one would know at all. And there was a music festival, and I started playing, and a few people joined me, and there was 8 of us sitting in a circle, and we all wrote songs. And basically, the person who was leading it just basically pointed at the first person and said, "Okay, sing one of your songs, your own songs." And you started singing, and the other 7 people then accompanied us. And we went all around the room. There was 8 of us from about 4 countries. One person played a flute, one played a mandolin, one played 3 guitarists and whatever. And we just went from person to person. We went around the circle about twice. No music, no peeling. We all played along. Marvelous, absolutely marvelous. You know, it was just such fun, and you learn so much. You learn so much doing that. I agree with you. You learn more than you can learn any other way by that kind of stuff.
That's so great, and it's one guitarist that I really like, actually from Australia, called Tommy Emmanuel. And whenever he does like a live thing, it's always different, and he always seems to enjoy it so much. Even when he's just alone, it's just seeing the receiving the audience's response. That's something different. But like if I had to go to a group and play one of my songs, I don't think I could do it, because I write my songs, I record them, and then I sort of forget how I played them. So I only they're all on tape, and I don't really have the chord progressions or anything etched into my head. So I don't really know. I would have to learn one before I could play it.
The great problem I have is that I cannot sing and do anything else at the same time, whether it's playing a piano or a keyboard or guitar or anything else. As soon as I start singing, it's like all the motor coordination of my hands disappears. What do I do? How do I get past that? I've been trying for 40 years.
Well, if you want a tip, what I typically do if I have to do something simultaneously with something else, I just forget tempo. I just forget the metronome, and I take like one bar, and if there's like down, da, down, and I have to sing, I do like down, and then down, and with the last one I sing like the, and I just start to build the song from little pieces like that, and I just start to plug them together. And that sort of works. That's always worked with like when I play drums, when you have to do different things with different hands. That works for me. So that can maybe help somebody out there.
I'm fine live, but I get recording fever.
Oh,
I play the song live, and then I come home and I sit down and go to record it, and the minute I press record, my brain goes to sleep. And I mean, it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes it just drives me crazy. And everyone tells me about metronomes, and with some beats, I just can't listen to a metronome. I was very fortunate. I was trying to write about 4 FAWMs ago. I was trying to write a waltz, and I had the metronome going, and if we'd had a dog, I'd have kicked him out the window, because I was just going crazy. I just couldn't get it right. And unfortunately, I was talking to Bill White, who you'd all know, and Bill said to me, "Throw your bloody metronome away." And I did. And the minute I threw it away, I could play it. So there's all these little tips that I mean, there are times when it's a fantastic thing, but sometimes it doesn't work for you. And just picking up on, you said Tommy Emmanuel. Just if you're ever interested, keep an eye out. We have a guitarist. He's 12 years old over here. His name's Taj Farrant, T-A-G Farrant. I've met him, and he is an extraordinary guitarist. Tommy Emmanuel raves about him. I've met him, and he's a cool young lad, a fantastic guitarist. He's actually just starting to sing a bit as well. He's never had to sing when you can play guitar like him. He's travelled to America. He's been on a few chat shows over there. Taj Farrant. Keep an eye out for him. Fantastic.
I think I've seen some of his videos on Facebook, because Tommy had shared
Lovely
them
kid.
on Facebook.
Lovely kid.
Yeah.
He's got this amazing guitar. It's some quite famous guitar he's got. I can't remember from my head. He was telling me all about it one day. He's a lovely boy. Lovely boy.
I have to check them out.
Yeah, cool.
Taj Farrant, T-A-G.
We're talking about production, and I got an idea back like 10 minutes ago, but because we were talking about like production for some sort of release, but we're talking about songwriting here because it's FAWM, and I think if I would have to like perfect my song before I get to capture it, I would not write as many songs as I do currently. So to have tools like some sort of auto-tune, or I use Melodyne a lot to help me with the correct pitch, and just to have those tools on your DAW where you can take a little snippet of guitar and repeat it for 70 times. That really helps to take the pressure off, because I know that I can just play something and I can snip things out of it and have a correct sounding thing at the end. And that to me is the point of songwriting, that you can perfect some sort of product, and if you want, you can later on learn that song and be able to play it wherever. But to be able to just take the pressure off and be able to write that thing, that to me is really, really valuable.
Anything that gives you belief that you can finish something has got to be good, whether it be songwriting or anything else in life. If you actually have some belief you can get there, then you've got a far better chance of succeeding. And when I sit down to write a song, I always know I can finish it. You know, we won't talk about what the quality might be like at the end, but I know I can finish it, and because I believe I can finish it, I do finish it. You know, and whatever can help you on that path to believing that you can finish, whether it's knowing that you can do all these little tools, you can massage it later, or whatever gets you through, is useful to me. I think that's great.
Yeah, especially to know that you don't have to be perfect. You can mess up things like really, really badly, and it's not the only take that you have to record in.
Yeah.
You can just
try again.
70 takes and just take one note of each, and you'll feel kind of like a cheater at the back of your head, but the point is to get a song out. Just get it to a point where it sounds like you want it, and then you can, if you want to, in March you can go and practice it and record the real thing. But the important
that's
thing
what
is
the
that
rest
you
of the
have
year's
the thing.
for.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
there's a lovely saying which I think bears repeating, which is perfect is the enemy of good.
Yeah.
And you're not doing form to be perfect. And whatever your definition of good is, it's probably way better than you can get away with on form. You don't have to be flawless in what you do and what you post on the FAWM website. It's a song, it's an idea, it's the words, it's the message that they convey that we're interested in. I mean, yeah, all right, some of us use the studio as its own instrument, and just listen to Cool Paradiso doing that on his tracks, and should you wish to do so, me doing it on mine as well, and Juha on his. But that's not what you need to aspire to have fun doing form. Just write a song on a guitar, hum it. You can do them a cappella. There are people out there. Yam655 does most of his songs a cappella, and he's been doing form for donkey's years and having so much fun doing it and getting people enthused about his, what he calls his crap cappella songs. But
yeah, he's a great bloke.
Great fun.
Yeah, actually what I did, it was at last 5090. What I started to do, I didn't post these songs. I should have, but I didn't. But what I did is I was making music for another game, not this one, but another game. And what I started to do is I got so tired of finding the instrument sounds and trying to perfect them on the keyboard. I just started to sing the instruments. I sang like, and then other dum 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 dum, and then other something on top of that, like, and it was just that. It sounds horrible. Like
that's so much fun.
But things are like horribly out of tune, and you can barely get a sense of like what's going on. But you can get a sense of what's going on. So when you listen to it a few times, you start to feel like, okay, that could be different. I could change that thing there, and if this happened here, that would be better. And then you pick your real instruments and you make the real version of the song.
It's a great idea.
So I don't know if you guys or any of the folk out there in YouTube land remember a BBC television drama series based on Tom Sharp's book back in the 1980s called Blot on the Landscape.
Oh, I nearly I had a bad back when that came out. I nearly finished my back off. I laughed so much at it.
Well, I don't know if you remember the theme tune to Blot on the Landscape, but Blot on the Landscape's theme tune was recorded by a gentleman by the name of Vivian Fisher. And this is before digital recording and stuff like that. Vivian Fisher's party piece, and he released albums. I don't know if you can track them. I've been trying to find his music on vinyl or CD for decades and have failed dismally. But basically, Vivian Fisher was a brass band enthusiast, and he couldn't play a note of any instrument. Didn't stop him. He literally he went into a multi-track studio and goes, right, this is going to be the tuba. And then he'd rewind and he'd do the snare drum. And literally just use his voice to do an entire brass band. And when you hear what he did with a multi-track, with an old 16-track tape recorder, it's astonishing. So yeah, don't let not being able to play an instrument stop you at all in having fun with FAWM. And I might even try emulating Mr. Fisher at some point this month.
That's really great.
Because I love his stuff.
If people are interested, there's a couple of videos of him on Blue Peter doing it.
No way, really?
Yeah, I just found them. Yeah, I only looked. It says 1978 Blue Peter, Vivian Fisher playing one-man marching band.
Oh, is it right?
I haven't clicked on it. But something there for people to, if people are interested to hear what you just talked about, you should be doing it on there.
Check it out, folks. I will be watching that immediately after this show because he was amazing.
I gotta check it out. Sounds great. And I usually just I do this a lot with songwriting in general. Is what I did with my synthwave album in 2019. What I did with Satellite 15090 is I just turn on recording and I start to just sing whatever comes to mind, like da 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 da. And then when I'm done with all of that, I pick up an instrument and I play the real instruments on top of that and just remove the vocal track, because it just takes the pressure off. You're free to be creative and just do the song without having to perform with your instrument. It's a great way of getting your, like, what's really in your head on the tape before you start to perfect them with the real instruments.
I sing along or just do exactly what you talked about. Sometimes if I get a song, I'm somewhere and I suddenly get that bit of music in my head and I pick up my phone and I press voice record. But I've always said, if anybody picked up my phone, I'm usually walking. They sound like obscene phone calls because, you know, I'm a bit out of breath walking down the road. So you've got this. So I'm always afraid if somebody gets my phone and finds it, I'll get arrested. So.
Well, you better hold on to your phone then.
So I'll keep my phone close.
The important thing is that the all serves are right. All right, I think we're running a little bit out of time here, but we'll be coming back on Wednesday, and we have another guest on Wednesday. Isn't that right, Chris?
Who has just joined us on the chat?
Oh,
so hello, Mel.
So we'll be doing another show at then 7 p.m. GMT. So, but I want to thank Jono for joining us this evening or morning for you. But it was a real treat. It's really fun talking to you.
No, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, seconded.
And just remember, I do a podcast called Songwriters and Original Songs. You can find it just about everywhere, and they're always a link in FAWM. They're not just FAWM songs; they're all original songs by people I know all around the world. At this time of the year, they're mostly FAWMers, but there's all sorts of songs on there. So have a listen. It's always a bit of fun, and there's always somebody being interviewed. Mr. Harris will be on there in a couple of weeks.
Oh.
So there you go.
Oh, there you go. So it should be a good point to start even sooner. But yeah, we got one last track here that we want to play for you. Here we go. No, this one is called Antipode. It's by Stand Up. So, until Wednesday then, have a great one. Have a great FAWM, everybody. Bye-bye.
Cheers all.
I dug my way down into a hole I dug for myself. I guess I'm going underground, under my own spell. So many troubles above the ground, too many to face. I'm down and out for the count, gotta make my escape. Digging for the antipode. You can say I took the easy way out, but you're not doing the labor. Digging deep under the ground, accept the danger. Digging for the antipode. I'm digging for the Indian Ocean off the Australian coast. I'm leaving no stone unturned, shoveling my way home. They say if you find yourself in a hole, you better stop digging. I'm on my way to a better place, screaming and kicking. Digging for the antipode, for the